Ahoy, mateys! 'Tis I, Captain Horatio Honeyflakes, and I be here to tell you about me newest crowdfunding campaign. The adventures continue with me crew, the Mighty Mascots, in issues 7, 8, and 9. Just focus your looking glass on the amazing artwork of Ian Warianto and Anton Bondi. Me crew, the Mighty Mascots, are up against some scurvy scallywags, and we need ye help to defeat them. There be a bounty of exclusive treasure, only available here, where X marks the spot. I spy a huge coffer of bonuses and stretch goals on the horizon. Then please consider pledging so we can continue these adventures with the weirdest crew I ever had the pleasure of sailing with. Mascots Unleashed!
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Indie Comics Relay. I'm your host, Keith Gleason, creator of the Mighty Mascots and promoter for the Plastic City Comic-Con. With me, as always, Johnny C., creator of Sartana, Surrounded by Death, and The Pond.
And The Pond.
What's up,
That's
buddy?
for you, Roger.
Yeah. So we are doing things a little backwards tonight. So me and Johnny usually love to talk for about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes up front. But we're going to put that at the back of the show tonight because we're on a little bit of a time crunch with our guest. So we're going to bring him in right now and get started with the interview. So tonight's guest is, I lent you the comic. Did you have a chance to read it, Johnny?
Read the first 4 issues.
Nice.
Yeah,
all right.
it.
Yeah, I'm dying.
Loved it. Can't wait to talk about it.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I knew you would because it's great. And I picked it up at Wiki Comic Con and have been interested in talking to this guy ever since. So without further ado, let's bring in tonight's guest, H.H. German. How's it going, H.H.?
How you doing, guys? Good to see you. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for coming on.
I got a first question I got to ask. What does H.H. stand for?
Well, my name's Harold, and H. My friends call me Hans, so H.H.
Oh, I love it. You got a little pen name, a little creator name, like the little Stan Lee thing. I love that. So I'm fascinated. So there's a couple things I really want to talk to you about, H.H. I love.
Pause everything. Hold on. I got to put my 2 cents in real quick.
Go ahead,
H.H. I've never seen Keith so excited about a comic series as I have been with yours. So I really can't wait to get into all this and to talk more about it. But it's genuinely, true, Keith is super psyched about your book.
Well, and I'll tell you why, because there's a lot of indie books out there, and it's always a mixed bag with indie. Like, you can have really good stuff, and there's a lot of clunkers, let's be honest, But when I read yours, the nostalgic, I felt like I was reading 80s Daredevil, Punisher, but the other thing I loved about it is a character. You never see a superhero going after people that abuse animals, which I thought was just an awesome take on, like a vigilante, and like that was his strong focus, So, and on top of that, the artwork is amazing. So yeah, before we get into the actual comic, I actually want to go back. HH, I read a little bit of your bio on your website. So you grew up in the Bronx, correct?
That's exactly right. And
and I saw that you were a boxer. So the first thing I thought of, HH is battling Jack Murdoch. Were you inspired at all by Daredevil at all because of the whole Hell's Kitchen? His father was a boxer thing. Was that part of your background at all, or?
Right. I comic books for me, they were very inspirational. I only learned how to speak English, I guess, by the time I was in the 2nd grade. So that would have been around 7 years old. My first language is Spanish. My second language is Italian, because I grew up in an Italian neighborhood. Yeah, I grew up in an Italian neighborhood in the Bronx all the way. It's the last stop on the 6 train.
Okay.
All the way at the end or in the beginning, depending on how you want to see it.
Okay.
But it was mob kind of neighborhood. Think Sopranos, but in the Bronx.
Mafia doesn't exist.
Of course not. Yeah, well, that's why I said mob. You see, you caught that, right?
Oh, that's
But
awesome.
yeah, that's where I grew up. I grew up in a situation like that, and frankly, I wasn't in any way a tough kind of kid. Growing up, absolutely not. In fact, my friends would tell you that growing up, I was just a good kid. Just always wanted to do good things around the neighborhood. Make friends, and that's
Did
really
you
all I
find
wanted.
boxing as a kid? Was that where you kind of channeled your like energy? Is
No,
that
not at all. Not at all. I got into fighting much later. And again, my
okay?
friends would tell you, I grew up just, playing sports like any kid in the neighborhood, just trying to have fun. And we had lots of fun in the neighborhood. But, we had I would say we had a lot of obstacles that you wouldn't have in a lot of neighborhoods. It was the Bronx, and this isn't a typical type of neighborhood. Let's just put it that way. There was a lot of fighting, but none of it was focused on actually trained fighting or boxing. It was just street fighting. And you were just
Okay.
trying to get out of, you really weren't trying to fight. You were just trying to get home or be safe or whatever. But there were a lot of challenges. I really honed my skill as a fighter much later,
Yeah.
in my late teens. So, if you ask any of my friends, they would tell you I was just a good kid in the neighborhood. That's all.
Gotcha. No, like I saw that you like on your website, your bio has a picture of you from like pay-per-view. So you actually were you a contender at one point?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I did very well with fighting, and this is a thing I mentioned about the toughness.
Okay.
Where I come from, the word being a tough kid means very different than I guess a lot of other neighborhoods. When you
Okay.
say you're a tough kid in my neighborhood, what it really means is you're a tough guy. You're in the middle of problems, and in most people's scenario, they just mean you're a tough person. And I actually do think I was a tough kid because I did survive a lot of pretty hectic situations, but outwardly certainly wasn't. I was just trying to be a good kid in the neighborhood, and in fact, it's the opposite. I had a lot of difficulty with other kids growing up, so I was more trying to evade situations. And comic books, getting sort of full circle to the Daredevil question, really they represented this wonderful way to comics. I've said this before. They're sort of like our first self-help books, as kids, because you don't grow up with an instruction manual. Some of us grow up with religion, others grow up with, good two-parent household with, lots of guidelines and whatnot. But for me, even though I did grow up in a, religious sort of, Italian American Roman Catholic situation, comic books were seminal. Not only did they help me learn the language because there were so many words that I learned by reading, these wonderful writers such as Stan Lee. Stan Lee was one of them.
Yeah.
But it was also, hey, if you're confronted with this type of challenge, what are you going to do? And there were so many different escape routes in the comic book. You could use your mind, you can use your mouth, you can use your legs, you can use your fists. So it was such a dynamic and creative and imaginative way to address an ongoing series of challenges that we had as kids, and I certainly had in my neighborhood.
Yeah, that, and I think too, like, because Stan Lee always wrote it in a way that like you identified with certain characters too. And I think
it felt personal when you read that stuff, like early Spider-Man. It's like it would be like fighting the supervillain, but also be like, oh, I got to pay my rent, like that kind of thing. And people can relate to that. People know about those kind of struggles,
It's self-help right from the time you're a kid in school all the way into adulthood. And it resonated, as you mentioned, it did resonate with me. And comic books were one thing that I had. I was particularly drawn to, but I was able to, there was only a handful of kids in my neighborhood that were really, really into comics. I was one of them. I really enjoyed them. One of my friends, Mike, he also read comics, and he was a big fan of the X-Men. I was a big Spider-Man fan. And I remember when Secret Wars came out. Wow, that's when all the kids came out and everybody was talking about. I mean, those days, could you imagine an entire neighborhood of kids coming out with their copy of Secret Wars? Everybody's talking about Secret Wars.
Yeah, that's great.
We were talking about it was part of the discussion. We were talking about, middle of summer, we're talking about wiffle ball, where we're going to play, and what whose back lot we're going to play, or off of whose garage door. And then who's going to get who's going to go in first at the candy store to see how many copies of Secret Warriors are there, how many packs of gum we're gonna get.
Yeah.
When our parents give us $1, we're gonna come out of there with a comic book and like a pound of gum.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I get it the first night, then we pass off the issue to you for the second night. Yeah,
right. And then what's the name? Legends of Zelda 2 came out. Holy crap! It's not even overhead; it's on the side. It's a side scroller. Everybody got like 20 kids in an apartment. Looking like raccoons on each other. It was like a raccoon family. Like all the kids. And it was everyone's different house. One house that was, my friend William had a Nintendo. He had an NES, and we would go to his apartment. He played. We lived in the same building, and he played. He had all the sports games, big sports. William.
Yeah. What was the one that everyone loved? That was it. RBI baseball.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was one of the big ones.
We played that at Williams. Yeah. Tecmo Bowl. That was the big one.
Bowl. Yeah, that was a great one.
Let me tell you something. I would go up. I lived on the 5th floor. William was on the 7th, and I'd go up every night to play Tecmo Bowl with him.
That was a great one.
And I didn't know. Of course, he knew this because he had the game. That Bo Jackson is like 10,000 times faster than all the other players.
Yes. Yep. Everyone wanted Bo. That's great.
Holy crap.
That is awesome. So now, like, having grown up reading comics and then also like, taking a career in boxing, were at any time during there, did you think about writing comics?
No, I just enjoyed them. And I sort of was built up later. I was getting into some skirmishes in the neighborhood with some of these kids, and I decided, I was actually getting quite a bit naturally, just without lifting any weights, just because I was very athletic. I started noticing getting kind of muscular. Like I said, I never tapped into the fighting that much, but getting back to that word, as I got older, I started realizing, wait a minute, I'm starting to adopt a very physical body, and I'm actually pretty quick. And this is starting to resonate with me that I actually am one of these tough, guys, kind of kid type of person. And I didn't lash that out in my neighborhood at all in any way. It's very respectful, regardless of whatever came down. And of course, eventually, we all became friends and whatnot. But what I did was I took to the gym. The first gym I went to was a traditional weight gym, and then a very focused bodybuilding gym, because I noticed my muscles were getting much bigger than a lot of the other kids in the neighborhood. And it got to the point when I was 16, I was always very athletic. I played in the varsity baseball team of my school. But at 16, my parents were actually brought in to speak to the dean because they thought I was on anabolic steroids. And they thought I was on steroids. They said, hey, Mr. German, we want to talk to you about your kid, his behavior here in the school. Get into a lot of skirmishes and whatnot. And the kid looks like, he's on steroids. He's like walking around like a muscular man and whatnot. And what it was I was, people don't realize how, your diet is so important. I was eating a lot of food, and I was also going to the gym and actually working out hard. A lot of people go to the gym. Most people go to the gym just BS. Can we curse on your channel?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people bullshit. They go to the gym, they just bullshit. And they don't really, they just talking. I see one guy on his, back in the day, he had Walkmans, and, this guy's on a CD Walkman bullshit. And then one of the other guys talking to some chick. I was in there hardcore training in the Bronx. I mean, this is some old, you could smell the mildew in this gym. It was disgusting, but it was hardcore. It was like the way, I don't know if you know about guys that know about bodybuilding. There was a bodybuilder back in the 90s by the name of Dorian Yates. And I would see, he was a British guy. I would see his videos. Holy crap, that guy was intense. He was just like, boom, boom, hitting those weights. And that's what I was doing. I was going there very seriously. And when you're eating all this food and you're bodybuilding, I was just blowing up. I was very, very massive.
Were you inspired by superheroes? Like a lot of guys that work out, they're like, I want to be Captain America. Was like that something that was in the back of your mind too,
yeah, I mean, it was deep back. It was more the superhero mantra. Was always prominent for me. It just, it wasn't something that was at the forefront. In hindsight, it always was there because that's really there. That was the nexus, so to speak, of, the man and Superman, right? The id and Lord Byron is it? Just this concept of the supermensch. You know, the person trying to be bigger and better and stronger when confronted with challenge. And I was confronted with challenge on a daily basis in that neighborhood. I mean, you had to, in order to get out of the Bronx, it was like Escape from New York, that movie with,
Yeah.
you know, every day was, you sort of felt like Escape from New York because you had different kind of challenges. You know, as a kid, everything is huge. You're going to die, you know, and you have to survive. You know, it's a big adventure. It was like Goonies, but in a mob neighborhood. It was nuts. You know, it was crazy. You know,
Yeah.
Sometimes you had to fight somebody. Sometimes you had to go up a tree, you know, jump off a building or something, and hope for there were garbage bags out there. There was all sorts of crazy things going on.
I would also probably imagine that, you know, being a muscular individual at that age, like that, just like, or even just any age, being somebody who looks imposing, almost in not, I don't want to say invites trouble, but like trouble finds a way to you. You know what I mean? A little bit easier than other people. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Right. It does. But that came much later. In my neighborhood, I really had none of that. I was more in the defensive part of that.
Gotcha.
In my neighborhood. I was trying to avoid these things. I was trying to, you know, I fought regularly though, but it was in a defensive capability, certainly not an offensive capability in my neighborhood. You know, one of the things about the type of neighborhood that I grew up in, it's very, very safe, if you know what I mean. There's nobody's trying to commit any crime in those kind of neighborhoods. So yeah, sure. You're hearing me speak like this, but it was really only the kids that were able to get away with the things that we did in that neighborhood. But in terms of like people getting shot and stabbed and things like that, in my neighborhood, that wasn't happening. And there was a very good reason that wasn't happening. So everything was controlled with a tight fist, and you know the lawns were manicured. There were small houses. Nobody was rich. It was all blue collar.
Right.
But everything was clean. There was no garbage. Everybody was respectful. It was very old school. A lot of Italian being spoken on the streets. You know, the masses in my neighborhood were all in. A lot of them were in Italian until like the midday when they turned into English. So it was a very respectful, conservative kind of neighborhood. But in terms of the kids, like it was like Lord of the Flies. You know?
Oh wow. That's funny.
Right.
But like, yeah, and so so how did you kind of come to the point where you wanted to make a comic? Like what clicked in your head? Like where he's like, was it because I see that your comic has a thing about animal abuse, like the main character Calico, who's the superhero, goes after people that abuse animals. Is that something that is that something you are passionate about as well?
Certainly. How it came about was I was dating a very sexy chick back in during the pandemic. She got a book. She got a book deal, and we celebrated in the park. And she said, "Hey, you know, now that we're in this quarantine, nobody's doing anything. Everybody's locked up. Why don't you get this book idea off the shelf?" And you know, it was a book first, novel. The guy who goes guy who goes after people who abuse animals. The working title was Animal Lover. Okay. So then what happened was, as I worked on the outline, I went to the School of Visual Arts. So I have a background I have a fine arts degree from the School of Visual Arts. A lot of writing classes where I took my studio year last year. So certainly have the background for it. And as I worked the outline, boom, I said, this is a comic book. This guy's a comic book character. He's not traditional, you know, superhero, but certainly more akin to the Punisher, going after people who abuse and kill animals. So I said, all right, well, let me get some help, because even though I can draw, I'm certainly not a comic book artist. So let me go back to my alma mater and check out the faculty, you know, whoever's in charge of the cartooning department. Maybe he has a couple of kids that can help me out, and we'll pay him a few bucks and see if we can, you know, get some bucks in some pockets and get some pages done. Well, as I'm doing this reconnaissance on the website, I come across the faculty page, and as I scroll down, I see the name Klaus Janson.
Oh wow!
And I mean, of course, I knew who that was, and it sort of this realization. All these flashbacks came back of these newsprint pages, you know, and the smell, and the colors and the characters. Holy
Frank
crap.
Miller too, right? Because didn't Klaus work with Frank Miller a lot?
I mean, he did. He was his partner on a couple of legendary titles. He worked on Daredevil. Was it the Born Again series or was it the other one? It was Born Again.
Yeah,
no?
I think it was Born Again. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he did the Batman.
Yeah.
Batman,
Dark Knight, right?
Returns.
Dark Knight Returns. Yeah.
And all that stuff. Yeah. So those are seminal books. And of course, that's Klaus Janson, Frank Miller. Frank Miller, one of the legendary comic book artists and writers, combo writers. And then, of course, Klaus Janson, probably the most renowned legendary inker in comic book history. So, I reached out to him through the website thing there, and not thinking I was going to hear back. And of course, a week later, I'm at a barbecue, not eating meat, only shrimp, only some vegetables there.
Yeah.
I haven't eaten mammal meat in over 30 years, I think, 30 something years.
Wow.
Anyway.
Oh wow.
But I got an email from him, and it was a pretty sizable one, and he gave me his mobile, and the next day we chopped it up for a good half hour. He was very, very gracious and just very kind human being, wonderful person, great guidance, and we did it a few more times, and until I got it in a much better path in terms of the look and feel of that character, because frankly, what I put out on the first draft, it really wasn't ready for prime time, and without someone like Klaus Janson in the very beginning, I think this project would have looked significantly different. I give him enormous credit for that.
So did he help design the look of Calico? Is that?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
He basically gave me guidance on. I was basically drawing the character and doing all of the elements, and I'm humbled by having direct contact with him and giving him feedback. But I specifically told him, listen, don't be kind or nice. I'm also an SVA grad, so one of your students there. So just beat the crap out of me and whatnot. And remember, I'm a boxer from the Bronx, and he gave it to me. He said, listen, HH, you got to do this, that, that. And a few more times back and forth. Again, gracious with his time, and the character looks the way he does now. So wonderful human being, just a wonderful person. And like I said, without
I love the design, by the way. I think the Calico character looks great, and I love the way the cat. It reminds me of Moon Knight or something. The way the cat head kind of forms on the chest and stuff.
Right.
Very cool looking character. Very memorable, I should say too.
That's the thing. We were going for something that was going to be impact. Right when you saw the guy, this is the reason why issue number 1 looks the way it does. When you see issue number 1 on the stands, you're like, what the hell is this? This guy's, really powerful. This is what a hero looks like. What I mean?
Yeah, I love that.
So, and a lot of times today, I don't think that resonates. The hero image it's not as often seen on the cover as you used to. You remember as kids, you'd go into the, in my case, it was the candy store where I would get my comics as a kid, and then eventually as a comic book shop. But when you're walking into the pharmacy, into the drugstore, into the 7-Eleven, into the laundromat, into wherever it is that you got comics, candy store, you'd have an immediate, these are comics and these are the heroes, etc.
Yeah, the covers were so dramatic back then and action packed.
Right.
Now, I can't say it's the same for Marvel and DC. The covers are kind of boring, I think, nowadays. There's not a lot that grabs your attention anymore.
It's like they lean into an image that looks more dramatic and not dynamic, not more action pose, more of a drama pose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I think that just might go with a little bit of just the nature of the way people change. Readership changes over the time.
Right. And here's another thing, guys. I don't think you need to remember something. Comic books, as we know them, they started collectively for the most part. There was a lot of Jewish kids from New York that grew up in the Depression era, and by the time the 40s, 50s came around, they were hungry for being uplifted from the ghettos that they were living in. they wanted to aspire. It goes back to that Ubermensch concept.
Right. Something
where
to
you
look
wanna-
up to. Yeah.
Exactly. Inspirational, dynamic is another good word that you used, is the right one, because this taps into the inner psyche. And like I said before, the imagination, capturing a child's imagination and allowing him or her to live in a world of your creation. Wow, that's a powerful thing. Once you're able to do
I agree.
there's a certain responsibility that we all have as creators that really came from that era. And they did a great job in creating these images. And let me tell you, they were all bold. And the other thing I'll say, there's a lot of these kids knew what it was to be hit in the face. Okay, they knew what that meant.
True.
And what
yeah, you're right, because back then too, we had a lot of, not so much now, but or there is still, but like there was more bullies back then too,
Oh,
so you had that more in your life. Nowadays they've kind of,
there's bullies, they just changed.
They just
Before it
changed.
was physical, now they're keyboard warriors,
Yeah.
right? So that's the difference. That's the change there, right? Because they can't be physical, or that, I think we did a good job of kind of snuffing a little bit of the physical bullying,
right.
But it's just transformed itself into a different way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well said. I think it's, certainly a great thing that we've reached a point in society where we can all see bullying is a terrible thing that it is. I certainly wish I had a little bit less of it, and certainly some of my friends. But frankly, in my case at least, these bullies were the ones that helped me become the person I am. So I actually have, believe it or not, an appreciation for these situations I had. But the thing is, not everybody's receives negative these challenges like that.
Right.
So
right.
Some of them take and it's understandable. There's no right and wrong to it. The best you can do is hope that we continue to improve as a society, but at the same time not impact the quality of our culture, because it is important. It is inspirational to see images move on a page that elicit this feeling of danger and fear. Whoa, that's incredible. Now I feel more comfortable as a child grabbing this book, and little by little I can acclimate to the challenges that I'm getting, on the street or in the schoolyard. I remember a time, my school, I went to a Catholic school, so we had, they separated the young kids from the older kids. So we had different playgrounds. So I remember when it was time to get into the big boy playground, and I was 9 years old. This would have been the 4th grade. The very first day, the older kids came up and they literally instigated a fight.
Wow.
They're like, "Hey, look at this kid. You look like you can throw a punch." They brought another kid who was a little bigger than me, and they egged it on. That was a big fight. That was the big event of that day. And you had like 100 kids around, fight. And that, I remember that very vividly. But these are the kinds of experiences that you simply do not have today.
Yeah.
that would be like a front page story.
That would be like, oh yeah, definitely.
Cops being called and everything.
Yeah.
No, that was Tuesday
Right.
for me.
Right.
The closest thing we have is Will Smith slapping Chris Rock at the Oscars. It's the closest thing we got to that nowadays.
Right.
That's
Right.
true.
Right.
So and I want to show the Kickstarter because I know we're running out of time here too. But
Yeah, we're having
one
fun.
thing I wanted to talk about a little bit was like the animal abuse angle.
Right.
that the book
Yes,
has.
yes.
So I want to just comment on that really quick, because I know that one of the most effective and poignant movie tropes is harm against an animal. Like when you're watching a movie, like, oh no, the dog dies, and immediately the audience goes, oh no, the horse dies. Oh, he had to put down the horse. Things like animals getting hurt is such a pivotal moment that, when used correctly in movies, can be so very poignant. And your issue 1 opens with one of those moments. It's just and it hooked me right away. And I was like, oh my God, there's this is happening. No, we got to put a stop to it. And it just, I that got me right off the bat. And I was like, oh, that's a really good use of that trope.
I'm going to say 2 things to that, and we'll jump into the Kickstarter. First is, that was the plan. It was by design. I don't like to waste time. I write like I fight. It's a very
Get right in.
You really can't waste your time. You have to go in. You only have 3 minutes on the clock, and you got to convince the judge or the mat that you're the better fighter. But the guy's going to be on his back, or the judge is going to say, all right, this guy won the round. The bottom line is, I didn't want to waste time. The minute you open the page, I wanted to see immediate impact. Whoa. A lot of the people that open that page, some of them walk away in terror. They're like, oh my God, how am I supposed to continue reading this? Well, this is by design. We don't want everybody. I mean, we do want everybody, but we want very hardcore people who truly want to make change and to want to address the actual issue and not just sugarcoat. Yeah.
No, go ahead. I was going to say, like, people can't face, some people can't deal with reality. Like, you know, like,
right.
This stuff happens, you know,
right.
like,
right.
You know, so
they want to sweeten everything and sugarcoat it. And we're simply not about that. We're about, if you're a real hardcore comic book reader, underground indie comics that really respects what Marvel and DC was doing back when it truly was counterculture. Remember, guys, comics was counterculture back in the 80s.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think it became mainstream until like 2010, like, you know.
Right. Well, you know, corporations moved in a bit earlier, but yes, corporate comics were counterculture, and this is the type of thing they were doing. They were taking your hand from your side and causing you to scratch your head in disbelief, like, whoa, this is, and you thought about things. Yeah. And, you know, we just don't see that today. So that was by design. The second thing I'll say is my best friend, knowing that I was working on this project, he and I went to the beach a couple of years back when I was working on the series. I was writing the series. He showed me a video on the beach, my best friend did, of a dog, you know, getting hurt very badly. Yeah. And that's really what triggered that. You know what? I'm going to open with this because right now I'm speechless. If I got my hands on this guy, I would take a shovel
out of him
and cut his head off and stick it, you know where, and keep doing it. You know, enormous amount of rage. I was silent, full of rage, and I'd never been like that next to my best friend. He showed me that, and we just looked at each other at the end, and you know, we nodded our heads, like knowing if we had got our hands on the guy who did this, it would be a bad day for that person. And that's what I wanted the reader
to feel
for Hector, because that's exactly the response to Hector. Hector is silent. Dog Mama is saying, you know, she's going through the motions like, oh, this is horrible, but we got to get on this, blah, blah, blah. He can't even speak. He's just like, this guy is a muscle-bound fighter from the Bronx who's thinking murder at that point.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I wanted that within 2 pages. And that's going to be compelling. Those 2 pages are going to be, they're going to cause the reader to want to read the whole damn book, the whole series, all 8 issues, you know?
Yeah, so. I love that. And also, like, you're also not only like, is it about that, but aren't you also dedicating some of the funds that you received to charities? To
a lot of people, they're like, well, how are you guys making money on this? You know, what's the gimmick? You know?
Yeah. Like, what's the magic bullet there? You know?
Yeah. So how it is, we actually are a for-profit company, but we work strictly with nonprofits. So what we do is we have a board that vets the charities that we work with. That basically the only way you can work with us is you have to have a program to operations ratio of over 85%. People don't realize, you know, when you give money to PETA or the SPCA, these are very operations-heavy organizations, okay? The CEOs make millions of dollars. Well, we don't accept that. We have criteria that needs to be met by these charities. The CEO can only make up to a certain amount. The operations can only be a certain amount. If and when those caveats are met, those requirements are met, then we will take you on as a full sponsor on the book, and we will give you free advertising. We give you a platform to thousands of people on a regular basis, because remember, you know this, every weekend we're in a different city. Actually, this weekend coming up, I'll be in Miami, SuperCon. Nice. And Casey, our other salesperson, is going to be at Denver, Fan Expo Denver. Yeah, Fan Expo Denver.
Oh, awesome. So you got like a team helping you here too. That's great.
Yeah, all of us are animal rights people. Casey's actually involved in animal rescue and training. So, you know, all of us are either animal lovers or work directly in animal care, animal rescue,
That's
etc., animal
awesome.
welfare. So
The thing I love about it too, like normally, like if you saw a book like this that had like a cause built into it,
right,
like it sometimes can feel pretentious and like
right.
like
Preachy.
preachy, but your book doesn't. It just kind of feels like it's woven in there seamlessly, like like the way Punisher would go after a villain, and
Right,
maybe the writer had something to say about the mob, or
right,
or something, but it
right.
feels like this is seamless, which is good.
Well, I
Johnny.
also feel like there's detail in there that is specific to having experienced it. And what I
Absolutely.
mean by that is like even what you said about a gym
Right.
smelling a certain way. I think you
Oh,
had a sentence in there saying about this gym smells like this, this, and this.
right,
So
right,
I mean, like that's something so descriptive that you would have to experience that to
right.
describe it, to even put it in those type of words.
I,
You know
I
what I
am
mean?
I am well served and helped for the fact that I was a fighter at a very high level. So I definitely leverage my background. They say write what you know, or invest in
Yeah,
what you know.
absolutely.
I'm a firm believer in that. This is what getting back to the whole, people creating comics that never even made a fist. How are you going to create comics, whether drawing them or writing them, if you don't understand the fundamentals of conflict? Conflict is the essence of good versus evil. You have to have at least some. I'm
Absolutely. You
not
gotta
saying
have
you
some
gotta be
perspective on it. Yeah,
right.
definitely.
I'm not saying everybody's got to be fighters. What I'm saying is you have to understand the basics, the fundamentals of conflict.
Yeah.
Okay, we live in a society where everybody's trying to be nice and politically correct. No, that's not how I grew up, and I'm going to work the experiences that I've had in the past. In my case, is a lot of conflict, and give you all of the nuances, but in a very direct way, not in a way that takes a long time, 5 issues to finally get to resolution. No. Every page you're gonna get some level of satisfaction. There's
Awesome.
nothing better on 100-degree day, a nice frosty strawberry milkshake. That's what every issue of Here Comes Calico is. Yeah, there's adversity, there's challenge, but let me tell you, at the end, somebody's gonna get it, and they're gonna get it really damn
Yeah, I
good.
love it. Awesome.
Yeah,
Now,
it's good
like
like
I know
that.
we're running out of time, but I do want to check out the Kickstarter here,
Yes.
because like I know this is why we like why we had you on, and
Right,
on top
right.
of talking
Just
about the
having a lot
great
of fun.
comic. So tell us a little bit about the manga that. So are you doing a manga of it now?
Yes,
Is that
we're doing right. So we're the only publisher that I'm aware of that is simultaneously releasing a comic book and a manga series at the same time.
Oh wow.
And we're doing this because of the volume of shows that we're doing every weekend. We're pretty much in a different city. We've learned that the younger generation is more inclined to the mangas.
Wow,
So
look at that.
what we did was we
Man,
took.
look at how awesome this design is.
Oh
I
yeah,
love
these are
this
all
character.
absolutely. Those are the desktops and the phones there, the wallpapers. I mean, we got all sorts of things. We got the manga, the comic books. Right there, you're seeing the manga 1 and 2 volume. You can pick them up for $22 there. We got the digital there for the comic book series. There's a comic book series there. So any tier you want, we have. And again, it's a wonderful series, and not some of the money. Every penny goes to fighting animal abuse. That's what we're all about. And that's what we like to say. Our line at these
Look at
shows is Hector Gill is the Calico, the ultimate defender of animals. He gets
Yeah,
info
dude.
on people who abuse and kill animals. He goes after them with extreme justice. And
man.
when they say, well, what did we compare to this guy? Well, this guy makes the Punisher look like Gandhi.
Yeah.
So
there you are, dude. This is from
Hey,
the
look at
paper.
that.
Yeah.
right.
That's
That's
great,
the
man.
team there. That's the creative team. You got Garner Biel, you got Javier Orbich, you got Renato Pinto. So all of us are doing our thing there, and it's a team effort. Casey's helping us. We're doing wonderful work at the shows. She and I tag team at the shows. So we're hitting this problem from a lot of different levels. And here's a wonderful comic book series that you could support, where you can rest assured actually that the money's going to a really wonderful cause, and it's by a team that really loves what they're doing. You can see the passion in the project. My mother, a wonderful cook she is, and there's always this saying, you could tell when you're loved. When you got love going into something, and you could taste it, you could read it, you could see it. Anything that is a creative endeavor that is, you can clearly see the quality of the product, that's love behind it, and that's what we have. We love animals and we love comics, so that's why
It shows. It definitely shows in the final
I
product.
shared
One
I
other
shared
thing
the
I wanted
link.
to-
Go ahead, Johnny.
I was just say one other thing I wanted to compliment you on, HH, is that I love that it's a character narrated driven story. So like Punisher War Journal, there's a lot of voiceover.
right.
Like Dexter, kind of. There's a lot of narration that
Oh,
drives the story, and I love that. There's some comics that try to do that, and they kind of like dip in and out of it, and they really don't do it justice. You guys nailed it. Awesome, awesome job on that.
And we got some good comments here too for you, HH. Jeremy says this looks amazing.
Thank you.
Ara says I want to back it. So I just shared the link in the chat. So definitely help out HH. The money goes to a great cause to stop animal abusers, and the comic features that, but also is I pay it a compliment. It feels like 80s and 90s Daredevil and Punisher. It's like that kind of book.
Punisher. It's so Punisher. I love it.
Yeah, it really is, and it's a cool character. You can see the artwork is amazing on the book. Do you have a tier that you recommend on this campaign to people, HH?
If you love comics and you like more of the comic book feel, get the reader set there. I think it's like $30. You get 1 through 6. This way, for a reasonable amount, you can sit down for a good weekend and really just hit the ground running with this series, and it's really affordable. And then when you're ready to get in for some nicer copies, you can do collectors. Listen, if you want to get a really full and rich background with maps and bios and 2 additional stories in each book, the manga is great because we're working with 200 pages at that point for each book. So between 1 and 2, we're looking at 400 pages, in the 2 volumes. So and it introduces additional stories of the characters, so you could see them, years ago. And again, they're only available in the manga. So I would recommend that. One more thing I just want to add to what you said about the Punisher and Daredevil. I mentioned Klaus Janson before, but I really would be doing a disservice to one of the wonderful contributors, someone who's definitely guiding me now more than ever. You mentioned the Punisher. Klaus Janson is a legendary Punisher creator as well as Batman and Daredevil.
That's true. Well, yeah, that's right. He did work on that.
We have, in my opinion, the best Punisher creator in history. Mike Barron is giving me some direct guidance on a regular basis with every issue.
He wrote some of the best Punisher stories, especially
absolutely.
back in the 80s. The other thing, HH, I wanted to, I know you got a ghost here in a few minutes.
Right.
One thing I wanted to kind of poke fun at a little bit with you. I looked at the Sigma Comics logo and it looks suspiciously like Thor. Is there a little story behind the Sigma Comics logo?
This is something that you guys will appreciate and in your audience. So those of us that like the issues back in the 80s and even going back to get the back issues back in the 60s and 70s, you're all going to recognize that logo. That's actually Bob Bell's old logo, and you can see the BB insignia on the uniform.
Oh yes, okay, yep.
And Bob Bell pretty much was inspired by Thor in that logo, but really what it is he was either the first Marvel Comics advertiser or one of the first like 5.
Oh, and really? Okay.
Yeah, that's historic. That logo goes down in history. It's an iconic, logo representing mail order comic books. He actually had the first, if not one of the first mail order companies in the entire country, comics. So
no kidding. Okay.
He's in a couple of books of comic book history. Bob Bell is, and I knowing this, I reached out to Mr. Bell, and I asked him personally. I said, Mr. Bell, you're a legendary, pioneer in the industry where we didn't have any way to get comics outside of going and buy them on the newsstand, and you basically created the the comic book mail order business. And he was very humbled and thankful, and I he basically said, yeah, go ahead, take it, I'm retired, go do some good in the world with it.
Wow.
Yep.
Really cool, man. So I know you got to go, but
right.
I would say, like if you have a future project coming up, another Kickstarter or anything, hit us up. We'd love to have you back on the show and spend a little more time with you. You're like a really cool and interesting guest. And I wish you the luck on the campaign. It looks like you're very close to hitting we'll share out the link again too before we end the show, so that people can check it out. Yeah,
really
definitely.
I'm having a good time. The time flew, and I really enjoy what you guys do. You guys are creators, but you're also wonderful comic book fans and historians, and just the overall pop culture, games and comics and the serials and all that. That's just
absolutely.
That's a fun thing.
It all goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
So thank you again for coming on the show, and we love chatting with you. And like I said, come back anytime. Let us know.
HH, where can people find you typically? Where's your social media platform of choice?
Right. You can just type in Sigma Comics on Google, and you get the website, and at the bottom you got all the social media. At the top you have them as well. And Instagram is something that we like to do regularly. But now we also have a YouTube channel that I'm starting to actually put a YouTube video up regularly, even though I'm not big on social media. But it's important. We're realizing now that YouTube is important for creating an audience. So
awesome. We got you a backer here. Just backed Here Comes Calico Manga Volume 2.
Excellent.
Hey, man. Go, man.
Listen, you just fought animal abuse with the power of the fist and the wallet. Okay,
I love it.
Thank you so much. You got
awesome.
More people read that damn comic book and that manga. That'll put hair on their chest, man and woman alike. So.
I love it, awesome. HH. Thank you for joining us, man. And like I said, come back anytime, and we'll be following you your book from here on out. So
Thank
we
you,
got
guys.
2 new fans right here on this show too.
Absolutely, 100%.
I appreciate you very much. We can't do it without you. God bless. Thank you so much.
All right, HH. Have a great night.
You, HH.
We'll see you. All right. Bye. Johnny. So it's kind of, we bucked a different well, we're kind of backwards tonight. So we started with the guests first. We usually talk. Well, I guess that's good, because now we can kind of talk without
talking about our bullshit.
Yeah. So we have a couple things to talk about. We're both kind of in Vermont this weekend for different reasons.
Oh, I wanted feedback on that, but by the time I was available to text you, it was really late. So I didn't want to bother you at all, but I'm dying to hear about feedback for that show.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, okay. I guess I'll start with that first. So it was at it's called the Rail City Fan Fest.
Rail City.
Yeah.
Right?
So I guess St. Albans, Rail City must be their nickname. Kind of like.
How long of a drive?
3.5 for us.
Are you serious? Really?
Yeah. It wasn't. Honestly, it's about. Once you get to Burlington, it's about another 15 minutes.
Yeah, but it's not far from Burlington for sure. But I remember driving up to Burlington when working with Vermont Comic Con, and it just being like a haul. You know what I mean?
Well, I think the worst thing about it is and I have like this fear in the back of my head is I hate that it's that one highway there's nothing. It's just trees and like
cow
fields and cows and birds, and that's it.
I've told you about running out of gas, right?
Well, that's what I think about. I think, what if we broke down out here? Like, there's no who's coming to get you? Like,
I did that in the middle of the night, Keith.
Holy shit!
I used to drive up to Vermont in the middle of the night because there's less traffic on the roads.
Yeah,
it would be a quicker ride. I could speed like a demon.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't hit anybody, or you know what I mean. And there were minimal cops up in friggin' Vermont. So but then I underestimated how far you go where there's very rural areas and there's no nothing in you know what I mean? Yeah. So I actually did run out of gas in the middle of nowhere.
Jeremy,
thank you, Jeremy. You're a good friend. You're a good friend, Jeremy. I've always said it.
Ryan said, Johnny, what's up?
What
brother?
up, dude? What up, Ryan? So yeah, I broke down. But the cool thing about that night is we were up in the middle of nowhere in Vermont, so there was no light pollution. So literally, it was like the prettiest sky I've ever seen in my life, where you could see every star. Yeah. I felt like I could see the whole universe.
And it must be pitch black, right?
Pitch black.
Because I was gonna say there's no stop, city lights or there's nothing.
So it really gave me a really good view, and it was like, oh well, that was the silver lining. I ran out of gas in the middle of nowhere, but I saw a piece of nature that took my breath away. You know what I mean?
And Ara said he'd come.
Thank you, Ara. I know you would, because you're a saint.
We had this. A lot of people asking where you were too, asking me at the show. But so before I get into the show, so how long did it take you to get help? Did you call AAA or something? And
so I called AAA that night, and it took them like an hour to get to me. So we kind of like lounged around. I was with a few people, so that was embarrassing too. I was wasting other people's time that they'll never get back again. But whatever.
Well, better than being alone. Like, you know,
So that was nice. So we kind of chilled out. Sparked up, looked at the sky. It was actually kind of serene. It was nice, but it was just like it was just disastrous because I was in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
you could feel I knew that like I had AAA and everything was gonna be okay, but you could feel the existential dread being out in the middle of nowhere in the dark.
Yeah, I can just imagine. Yeah. That's my fear too, like being stuck on that highway, like right in the middle somewhere where there's no exit for miles and miles, you know?
Yep. The guy who came out was a tow truck driver who just had like this cracked smile on his face. So he was just like, and I'm like trying to communicate with him and like genuinely tell him that I felt sorry for having to drag him out at like 3 a.m. to like give me 6 gallons of gas out of a jug. You know what I mean? That would barely get me to like the next gas station. He's just like, and like smiling, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, this guy must fucking hate me right now.
Oh, that's awesome. So so the show itself, it was pretty good. It actually reminds me a lot of Plastic City because it was in like a sports arena thing, you know, like
like more like the Wallace Civic Center.
Or more like the Wallace Civic Center, and it was actually on a I think it was basketball courts, but like it was that foam, like that hard foam. You know what I'm talking about?
It kind of indents a little bit as you walk on it.
And now I know what it is to vend at my own show because they didn't have like AC, so it was like that swamp ass kind of like atmosphere in the show.
It's like musky, and
you feel like you need a shower every five minutes.
I'm actually living in that right now. I have no AC, so like I said, but before the show started, I'm going to drop a couple of T-shirt sizes by the end of the broadcast. It'll be like Weight Watchers before and after.
Right.
This is actually helping more for sweat than anything.
Yeah. So, and the show itself. So the positives were. So the guy who runs it is a kid. His name Luke. I forget his last name. Luke. I want to say Hungerford or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Really nice kid. Just wants to make a good convention. Wants to do right by the community. He had a lot. He does a lot of amazing stuff there. Like stuff that you're not used to at shows. Like he had breakfast and coffee ready for people, all vendors. And then in the middle of the day, he had sandwiches. And then at night he had pizza. So it was like he was really focused on taking care of vendors and guests and artists and things like that. So he had like
that
green
was
room.
A Jay Moulton move back in the day.
Yeah. I mean, I can count on one hand how many shows have ever done anything like that for us as artists and things like that. Usually if you're lucky, you get a bottle of water sometimes, that was like the thing. But they took care of us.
Or if you exhibit in Boxborough, you have to pay for the oxygen.
The canned air. Like a Spaceballs over like that.
Oh, that's $1.50 for the air. You gotta move 2 inches.
So true. But like as far as the show goes, it was okay. Like I think we would have done a lot better had we not stayed in the hotel 2 nights, because that kind of killed our profits. Like I had a free table, because I did a table swap with him. He's going to be at my show promoting Rail City. So we did about, I want to say, somewhere shy of like 230, somewhere around there, which would have been an okay profit had we not paid, I think, $400 in hotel bill, and then whatever we spent on food and stuff. So it's kind of like your experience at SPX, where it's like if you had just made some adjustments to your costs, you would have come out okay. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like that.
You don't know
nice
what to expect when you're booking a show like that. It's a first time show either.
Yeah, I wanted to try
or
it.
An early show, like a show that's not really,
Yeah, and I don't get up to
yet.
Vermont. The last time I was there was, I think, the last Jay Moulton show back in like what,
In
2017.
Barrie?
Yeah, the Barrie one, I think, was the last one. But like it was nice. So I see the Token Dead guys. They were there. They keep assuring us that they're gonna get us into the whatever the network is that they're part of there.
Yep.
So Ben and Jeff, it was always good to see them.
Always good to see those guys. We'll meet them there.
We were across from Hero Shack, so we went to dinner with Hero Shack on Saturday night. Diana and Chris, and I love those guys. It was nice to hang out with them.
Yeah,
outside of convention, So
yep, totally. Get former guests on the show too.
Yeah, and then I forget the kid's name. You know him. He was asking about you a lot. It's the guy that does that amazing radio show.
Doug Engler.
Doug. I couldn't remember his name.
Amazing. Doug's so awesome. I love that kid.
He came by a couple times. He was asking where you were, and and I told him that you wanted to come, but it was just
I know
too
he's
far
moving to PA soon, so
yes, he mentioned that. Yes.
Yeah, I was hoping to get a chance to see him before
he's going to carry on the show though. So he said the nights he can't do his show, the co-hosts are going to take over.
Yeah.
So the show will keep going.
I've never met somebody so connected into the anime voice industry as Doug, who's not actually a voiceover artist.
Yes.
Or he might be now. I don't know.
Well, he brought an anime girl there as one of the guests. So I think that was part of why he was there too.
Yep.
And Amy was right here too. She said we were competing against a Ren fair. And then the smoke from the Canadian wildfires was all
that made its way over there too.
Yeah, that was
everything looked like
happening.
Blade Runner 2049.
Yes, it did actually. Yeah, very did. So in the Ren Fair thing, I guess was like the kid who booked Rail City Fan Fest could only get this weekend, so that he had to do the show this weekend. So, and then the Ren Fair, I guess for whatever reason, didn't want to move their date, so it kind of ended up being,
that's tough.
A direct competition.
There's a lot of lap over dates on shows this year. It's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, and Jeremy said, yeah, you should be on the Dorkening. Yeah, that's the one, Dorkening, I think. Yeah, Ben and Jeff are supposed to set that up for us. So.
I don't think I think the Dorkening's different.
Is it the Dorkening different?
It might be. I don't know. I could be mistaken there, but I don't know.
Yeah, we'll go with whoever grabs us first, I guess.
Yeah.
So I mean, I wouldn't be. I think it'd be fun to be part of a network or something, wouldn't you think? As long as
we are part of a network, we're on Global Indie Group.
Yeah, that's true. I want to be part of those networks as long as I don't have to do much. Like I can't take on anything more.
And that's the tough thing too, right? Is because I like to advocate for some of these platforms. But it's hard to be a cog in the platform sometimes. You know what I mean? You want to reciprocate, you want to be able to give back into it, but it's got to serve you as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. So overall, I'd say the show was pretty good. Like, I mean, especially if you're looking to put Vermont on your schedule, if it's like
I do miss Vermont. I mean, having been in a Vermont show for several years, affiliated that is. I missed going to Vermont in that regard.
The one thing that was
part of the state.
The one thing that was fun too, I got to make. I don't know if you saw it. I made a video making fun of the old Star Wars smoking PSA.
Oh, I didn't see that. I'll have to check it out.
It's on Facebook.
Did you use Honey Flakes?
I used Honey Flakes, but the 501st Legion was there, and they had like one, like a replica of R2D2 that was running and stuff.
Did it actually smoke? Was it a smoking R2D2?
No, it didn't. Well, the way I made fun of the PSA was, so I have Honey Flakes go over to talk to R2D2, and he says, I can't understand anything you're saying, but then they look down. Oh, Amy wants me to play it. They look down and they see the cigarette, and then like remember in the old PSA, like. Yeah, R2 just gets rid of it. C-3PO, tells him it's a cigarette, and Honey Flakes picks it up and says, "I'll dispose of it," and he just walks away, putting it in his mouth. And then you just see R2 do that, like that freak out, that you know, like that one. Let me see if I can
Great.
find it,
Yeah,
because
can you
Amy
play
wants
it?
me to play it. Yeah,
Play it. Why not?
it's funny. It's only like 30 seconds too.
Yeah. Fire it up.
I'll find it here. Hang on. But yeah, that was like, it was just like one of those things that I kind of, you know, I was inspired at the moment because the R2D2 was so good, you know.
Yeah. I do fondly remember that PSA from back in the day.
Yeah, it was huge back then. All right, let me see here. Trying to get it. Let me see if I can get. All right, here, hang on. Present, share screen.
Oh, that's a big no, Jeremy.
No. Yeah, that is a big no.
That's a big no on that one.
Okay. Here we go. All right. So let me see if I think that's the biggest I can make it, but here we go. Oh wait,
Need
it's
some
getting
audio up in this piece.
Here we go.
There we go.
Look around. Ahoy, robot. What are you trying to say to me? Oi, you found a cigarette. Thanks, robot. I'll dispose of this. Hi, matey. We are at the Vermont Rail Fest today.
That was great.
Wasn't that great? I was inspired because the R2D2 was so good. And thank you to the 501st for letting me. They were good sports about that, because I wasn't sure how they were if they were gonna let me do that because of the whole cigarette thing.
Yeah.
But they were great. The guy loved it, so I tagged him on Instagram about it, you know. So
that's great. That's great. I loved it.
Yeah, so that was perfect. I actually contacted those guys. I think they're gonna come and be part of Plastic City this year too.
Oh,
So
cool.
that'd be great, you know.
Yeah,
they're always good to see those guys, you know.
Yeah,
and the fans love the Star Wars stuff, so
who doesn't?
Yeah, right. And I love Star Wars and the Muppet Show. Yeah, me too. I love that too. And
totally.
Yeah, not going to be a Gary show, unfortunately.
No,
I stopped doing it a couple years ago.
I don't know if I'm welcome there, actually. So,
well, I know you are on the outs. You're on the blacklist.
I'm on the blacklist.
You're blacklisted, but I think he still likes me, but I just don't like his show. So, like, I mean, not that I don't like it. I don't make money at it. So it's like I've tried it several different times, and it's just the same kind of return. So it's not worth it for me to do it.
It's hard to play the same drum beat over and over again and expect people to stick around for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because at first it becomes music and then it becomes droning, you know?
Terrificon. I think, Johnny, you're going to be at Terrificon, right?
100% going to be at Terrificon. I'm going to have a full cafe booth. I am going to have, and it might be the last time I do the cafe booth there. It's going to be a 10 by 20 space. So it's going to be pretty big.
Sweet.
It's going to be myself, my good friend Brian Lafferty, who's going to be with Battle Wounds podcast. And then it's going to have Jared Brown from Darkstream Studios. I write one of Jared's books. So we're going to have a nice big booth on the floor. I'm going to have the full cafe. Come on by. Nice. It's going to be fun. And I'll have all sorts of fun new products to show off.
You guys are the only reason I kind of want. I'm having FOMO from doing it. I didn't sign up for Terrificon. I just been doing less and less of the 3-day shows. I don't mind 2 days, but 1 day is like my sweet spot right now. Yeah. And I'm so busy with lettering and trying to get the mascots done, which I'm hoping to get them off to the printer this week. I decided to go with Comics Wellspring, Johnny.
Dude, though they're the best though. I love them and I swear by them. Those guys are awesome.
I agree. They are the best.
You just have to give them enough time. Otherwise, you're paying an exorbitant amount of money for printing and shipping on a rush. So you have to give them that like full 2-week turnaround time plus shipping time. Like otherwise,
it might take a little long with this one because I'm going to place the order all at once. But I'm going to be reprinting 1 through 6.
Okay.
And also doing all the new issues and the variants. So they might take me, they might take a little longer to get my stuff done,
Well, I'm very excited to have it's regular paper, right? They don't do newsprint there, if I remember.
Yeah,
correctly.
they don't.
I can't wait to have regular paper versions of Mighty Mascots.
Oh, nice. Awesome, man. Yeah, well, so let me tell you the newsprint nightmare though. Like I reached out to 2 different newsprint printers, right? One of them didn't even get back to me. They said they took my info. They said, contact me here. I emailed them a few times. They never returned my email. Probably just didn't want to deal with me because it's like, I guess probably not. I mean, I'm sure supermarkets print thousands and thousands of flyers, but they didn't want to deal with like a guy trying to print 500 comics,
Yeah.
So, and then the one that HH, who was just on the show, turned me on to in New York. I reached out to them. They got back to me, but their prices were ridiculous. Like they quoted me.
Inflation right now, dude. It's killing everything.
Yeah, I mean they quoted me 10 grand for. Okay, so for 250 of 1 through 6, 250 copies of that, 500 copies of 7, 8, and 9, and then another 250 copies of 7, 8, and 9 variant. And that was like 10 grand.
Screw that on newspaper print?
On newspaper print. When I broke it down per copy, like Comics Wellspring was cheaper, which is insane. Like
I'm sure you're paying significantly less through Comics Wellspring.
Yeah, it's nuts. And so I also priced out. Let me see. I got it right here. I'll show you what I priced out a couple different one. Yeah, here it is. I went to Ready Comics for 50. They were charging $3.64 for 50 issues. Then I went to Mix'em.com. That was $3.54. It was 10 cents cheaper for 50 copies. Then I went to Print Ninja, and they were about, so I put in 500 for that, and it was about $2.45. So that was a little cheaper. But then Comics Wellspring came to about $2.40 a copy. So,
and their quality work. I only go through those guys. Anytime I've printed elsewhere, it's been terrible.
Yeah.
So I always go through Comics Wellspring. Anthony Greco, who runs that company, actually came to my booth in San Diego to introduce himself to print your books. Yeah, and that meant a lot. You know what I mean? Like, there's not a lot of people who will do that. People who run companies that actually come to come to you and say, hey, we work together, wanted to introduce myself. And I always thought that was great.
Oh yeah. I was making a joke about Miami says Cafe FOMO. Oh, and Jeremy's gonna have a table. Oh, that's cool, Jeremy.
Awesome, Jeremy. Shout out whatever number you are, what table number you are, if you know it already.
Yeah, so I don't know if we're around that weekend. Possibly we might shoot up to Terrificon.
Make a visit if you
maybe
want.
Go to the casino, gamble a little bit. If not, I'm certainly not done with that show. But I see myself maybe
take a break.
Yeah, I see myself doing it every few years, maybe, or something.
Like last year, I didn't do the full cafe. I was like, I couldn't handle it. I was coming right off of San Diego. I'm doing it again this year, where I'm coming right off of San Diego, but I'm giving myself a day in between, so it's a little less stress. I can pre-prep, get everything together, and then when I land, I can, get my stuff together a full day, and then the next morning head out to Connecticut and set up.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. And then so now to circle back, I wanted to hear about your Vermont trip. Like, I knew you were up there this week, and I saw the picture on was it a Facebook you shared it? Yeah, Facebook.
Yeah, I put it to my stories. So I went up to Vermont to visit my good friend Jeff Levine from Levinsky Top Shelf and from Silk City Hot Sauce. And as you know before, and I mentioned it before in the show, I went up there and I developed a hot sauce with them for Surrounded by Death. And we made the hot sauce, we bottled it, but we didn't have labels printed yet. So we finally had the labels ready, and I went up and labeled all the bottles. So we have 15 boxes with like 9 per box, I believe, of bottles of hot sauce.
Awesome.
So I have a few boxes with me that I'll have at Terrificon, San Diego, possibly New York Comic Con. I'm trying to work on an angle over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was able
You
to
got one
finally
right there?
I was finally able to.
Oh, dude, that looks great. That looks great. What's it called? What'd you call it?
So it's called Too Sweet to Beat.
Okay.
And
love
it's
it.
because there's beets in here.
Okay.
But you can't really, if you don't like beets, don't worry about it. It doesn't taste like beets. The beets were to give it that nice deep red color, which
Okay.
like is kind of like that Surrounded by Death kind of flavor.
Yeah.
And if
like
you
blood
look,
red,
the
right?
blood red. And then like the label, it shows, Silk City hot sauce crossed with me, made in Vermont, because that's where we made it.
Yeah.
More information at his website. And then on the other side of the label, you've got your ingredients. So as you can see, it's got habaneros, beets, apples, raspberries, blueberries, apple cider vinegar, blue agave nectar, cola, and salt.
Oh, man.
And there's a QR code where you can read issue 1 of Surrounded by Death.
Oh, dude, that's great.
If you scan that right there.
What are you going to be selling these for?
These go for $10.
$10.
So
and you get the comic for free digitally?
Yeah, you can get the digital comic over here for free. It'll bring you right to Global Comics, and you can read issue 1 for free there digitally. If you could buy this in issues 1 and 2, and that's $20 right there. $30, that gets you the bag of coffee as well.
Wow,
Not a bad deal.
That's a good deal, yeah. And then you should also mention too that you helped make this version of hot sauce, right?
Yeah. So most people, when they go and work with Jeff over at Silk City Hot Sauce, really they just say, "Hey, take a hot sauce and put my label on it, and do it that way." Our good friends in the Token Dead, that's what they did. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to actually go up there and make the hot sauce. So I wanted to actually put the work in, and that's what I did. And I actually bought the bottles from Jeff. So, it's my inventory to sell in that regard.
That's awesome. Dude.
And it's also my formula. So I put together the ingredients that went into it. And I just ran it by him because he's like the hot sauce professional. But with every
ingredient, would he like give you like the oh, you might not want to put this in there because it's gonna make it taste like this, or
so surprisingly he didn't shoot down any of my ideas.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, he was just like, no, that sounds great. And so I mean, I don't know if I just like pre-thought about it and like it just kind of worked itself out to be okay to use, but like I kind of told him what I wanted. I told him like the inspiration was his sauce. He has a sauce called Jezebel, which is green, but it's a little sweet and it's nice hot. Like it's got a punch of hot. Okay. And when I first talked to him about it, I was like, dude, if I want to make a sauce, I want it to be like Jezebel, but bright red. And then I was thinking about, well, what ingredients, and without using food coloring, could I use to make it bright red? And of course, beets. So that's why the beets came into the thing. But with the blend of like the cola and the agave nectar and the apples and the raspberry and the blueberry, you don't taste that like that earthy beet flavor. It's more of just kind of like a sharp habanero with a kick of sweetness.
Awesome, dude.
Yeah, that's kind of.
I wish I liked hot sauce. I'm not a hot sauce
man.
guy.
I love hot sauce. So
I know.
Like,
so it's
like bucket list item I get to check off here is I got to develop my own hot sauce.
Oh, definitely.
So,
and I saw it, and you made a video of the whole process. So you'll have to send that to me.
Once I edited everything back together again.
Yeah, edited everything. Did you take a video of you putting the label on and everything?
I took photos, but not video, only because it was just the nature of everything.
Yeah.
But
yeah, edit that together.
I'll put the photos in and I'll edit it and put it up on the channel.
Yeah, definitely. I think people would find that interesting and entertaining about, because it's because not only is it something interesting, but it's also like it's about you making something to market your comic,
Yeah.
So I think people would like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I think you said you were gonna try to stop by the convention, but when you found out it was like a couple hours away, you're like, forget it.
Yeah, it was so I didn't realize how far up it was. I thought it was like in mid Vermont, where I would have been like maybe an hour away.
Yeah,
I was like, I could probably swing by, but it was like above Colchester, which is about 10 minutes above Burlington, which like you said, is like 3 hours and some change away. Actually,
Yeah.
for me, it would have been like 4 hours away from my home, but from where I was, it probably would have been like 2 hours or so. So, I mean, it was pretty far out there.
Yeah. Yeah. It would have been good just to come and, do, see some of the creators that you like and, and stuff.
Yeah. We'll see friends, right?
Yeah. That's what it would have been. I didn't really get a lot of networking from that show. Just seeing like old friends and stuff, I think the only thing that really got out of it was, talking to the 501st and having them come to Plastic City, which would be really cool,
Yeah.
So speaking of that, that's stuff's like starting to pick up for that. So I'm heading into, like our full promo territory.
Yep. You guys going to be out on the side of the road, putting down the road signs,
Oh yeah,
right?
soon. Yeah. I try to time it about a month out. So we'll be doing that in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I was going to say, even bump that out even further. Get people talking about it in advance. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Well, you know what else I'm looking at too is the film crew actually filmed the commercial last week, so I'm waiting to get the final thing. Phil Healy and his crew,
Nice,
great guys, and yeah. So he said it'd probably be about a week turnaround. So sometime this week I should have the commercial for Plastic City. I'll have
can't
like
wait to see that. That's
I know.
Gonna be awesome.
He sent me some actually, you know what? Let me see if I have them here. He sent me
Yeah.
some production photos of the commercial, which is really cool. That'd
While
be
you're
kind of cool
pulling that
to
up,
share.
I was going to say, I also have some updates on the Surrounded by Death campaign I can share too.
Yeah, definitely. Well, go for it. And why I'm
Well, yeah,
trying
so,
to find this.
Did you know that Kickstarter has a refund function?
Okay.
So you can actually refund pledges on your campaign, but you can also refund partial pledges. So my backer kit, or my backer list rather, report expires in 4 days.
Okay.
And I'm pretty much coming down to the wire when it comes to the last few tiers that are still unfulfilled on my campaign. And one of the major ones was everybody who pre-ordered issue 3. So because that was a major thing, I decided it's probably for the best to refund that pledge, that pre-order pledge, and just roll that into another campaign for the future. So maybe just under $300 worth of my funding I gave back to my pledges.
Okay. So why? Because you
so the backer kit is expiring
off
of Kickstarter, so I won't have access to it. I can download it, but it's real messy and it's not very easy to read, and it's very complicated and does not look good at all because it's an Excel sheet basically.
So when you refund the pledges, does that mean are you going to deliver it still or no? Or is it just
no? So I for the $5 pre-order for issue 3, I then refunded everybody who I could refund that amount. And anybody, so if their card on file was still active with Kickstarter, then it refunded. If not, then Kickstarter said, please reach out to this person through other means. Their card on file is no longer valid. So then I had to send a message to him saying, hey, this is what I'm trying to do, just so you know. So I got through the whole list. So about $300 worth of my campaign was refunded back just because I told people, look, I'm not confident hanging on to this amount of money of this pledge for a product that I can't put a date on delivery because my artist is taking his time and he's got a lot in his plate and it's tough to get through. So because I can't give an honest answer to when it can deliver, I wanted to give it back to people. And I wanted to make sure that, that we can square. And I said, please come back when it is available, hopefully sometime in the near future. So it's not like it's not like this isn't happening. It's more of like I don't know when, so I don't want to.
I don't want to hold on to your money. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And then
I was gonna say, so are you closed now? Is the campaign closed now? You funded everybody, and then
so the only thing left is a few more things I have to mail out.
Okay.
And then the 3 top tiers were people who were getting illustrated into issue 3. So unfortunately, those people are gonna have to wait the longest, even though I had my artist expedite those pages, so that way I can send some maybe print of them illustrated before the full issue is available.
So they know, yeah.
And so then they know it's there, and then it fulfills that tier. Finally, it's only 3 people, and they're all, I know all of them, so that's helpful. And then in turn, when issue 3 is available, I can mail it out and it'll be okay. But really, the initiative was, since I was losing my backer kit, my backer list, I wanted to get all this done. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That way you don't have to keep track of so much. I get that.
Oh, dude, it was like a weighing over my head this whole time.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine, dude.
You know what I mean? It's
my
not...
deadline's coming up. Like I said, July, 2023, that I would start fulfilling this campaign. But my hope is to send everything to print to Comics Wellspring this week, and then hopefully have it in hand by the end of July, and then I can start fulfilling.
August.
Yeah, I'll be like a month or 2 late getting everything out to everybody, but we have all the other perks, which is nice. You just need the comics now.
Late, Keith,
what's that?
Better than 2 years late, like I was.
Hey, well, the important thing is you delivered, because that's what people, or if you knew, you were honest with them and said, "Here's your money back. I don't know when this book's coming." A lot of people don't do that. If you think about it, there's people out there that had a successful campaign, and it's been 5 years or more that they haven't.
There's a lot of Indiegogo campaigns. Unfortunately, Indiegogo is the #1 platform I back things on where I don't get the product for some reason.
Yeah, and that's the death note to creators if they want to be a crowdfunding, doing it as part of their business. You got to deliver, and if you don't, it's just a death note to your brand. No one's gonna trust you to ever.
So there was an anthology I had several friends that were involved in called Off in the Sunset, which was up in the 20K range, where that guy took everything and ran. It was crazy to think about that.
Oh yeah, definitely. And so I found the pictures here.
Oh yeah, fire it up.
Let me share these so you can kind of see. These are some of the screenshots from so they were doing sort of like in Renfield, sort of like the cosplay anonymous kind of.
Is this guy dressed like Bobby Hill?
I think so.
Is that Bobby Hill from King of the Hill?
I think so. I can't wait to see what they come up with. Yeah. Can't wait to see what they come up with. I love this, the look of it, and here they are holding Plastic City signs.
Oh, that's great.
And I think and this is Phil. Phil is this guy over here with you might have seen him at some Comic-Cons.
Yeah, possibly.
He's the filmmaker, and he's such a nice guy.
Awesome.
So I can't wait to see what he came up with, and I love it. These are all the production stills, I guess, from the shoot.
Oh, really cool! Can't wait to see the thing in full, man.
Yeah, me too, man. I think it'll be awesome, and I have some, I'm gonna do the cable ads this year. I'm assuming the prices haven't gone crazy, since the pandemic or since the last time we did it. But also, my manager at the comic store, Tim, the guy that runs that store or owns it, mentioned to me, I'm going to look into it, but Hulu ads, when you're waiting for your show to load up, you got to sit through the ads, especially if you have the ad option.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that
usually in the bathroom or in the kitchen during that time.
Right. But some people just sit there and wait. So I might try it and see if that bears any fruit, or I got to see if it's affordable first. I got to see if it's something I can do. But I'm gonna try it and see what kind of results.
Well, I've always said that I've noticed that conventions that do television advertising, even the smaller ones that don't seem like they should do well, do really well.
Yeah. So I don't know, try it. Jeremy had some questions for you here.
Yeah, fire it up.
He said, what happens to funders in that moment, Johnny C? And then he said, are they reimbursed? I think so, right? When
I reimbursed my things, but I had to manually do that. It's not like the campaign, like Indiegogo collects the money right away. So if something's not delivered, you don't get reimbursed. It's just the money's gone.
Yeah, only if the creator wants to
file a
do
grievance with Indiegogo, and sometimes they'll push the creator, and if it's like a company, they'll just give up the goat and give the refund. But sometimes if it's just an indie creator, they'll take that money and go. More often than, and well, the other thing with Kickstarter is that if a Kickstarter funds, the money's collected. That's where it's harder to get that money back. Versus if the campaign doesn't fund, then the money's never taken to begin with. So to kind of answer your question, Jeremy, if it's on Indiegogo, the money's taken and it's gone. If it hits on Kickstarter and it's surpassed its goal, money's charged, it's gone. If it doesn't hit on Kickstarter, it doesn't charge, you're safe.
Right, and you only had to reimburse for the third issue that's not even, you don't even know when it's going to be put in your hands.
Right.
Yet.
So I basically reimbursed what was considered an add-on tier. So people added on.
But you fulfilled everything already.
I fulfilled everything else. I had to just reimburse that add-on. And I have only literally three objects left to fulfill, which is the top tier about getting illustrated into the book. So those are going to get done. It's in progress. Joe's working on it. I just didn't want to keep people's issue 3 money without having a end date available. And this also allows me to do another campaign later on down the line, specifically for issue 3, or maybe I can garner a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think that's smart. And I think people understand that.
Right.
And because you refunded, I think people understand that you're not in it to like get this money and, take it.
Well, strangely, I had no feedback from people who got refunds. So
I don't think
already
you
out
would.
of sight, out of mind kind of thing.
Yeah, they probably, exactly. They were like, oh,
I got $5 from Kickstarter. Sweet.
Yeah, exactly.
Meanwhile,
it is tougher on
Indiegogo. Coffee money
Indiegogo
for the week.
Yeah. Like I had to do a refund for my Indiegogo not too long ago, maybe 3 months ago. And it is a little tougher because you got to manually do it. So I got to go and take the money and shuffle it to them by PayPal or something, and then mark it on the campaign that they were refunded. So it's a little bit of a pain, but it can be done,
So that was a little bit of what I had to do, though. Like the refund button's built in, and then you put in an amount, which is like a partial amount, which is the amount for the add-on, and then I just notate it saying issue 3 refunded. Or could not reach for refund, but left them a message. So then that way in the messaging on Kickstarter, if they reply, I'll know I messaged them and I couldn't get through in their payment. It keeps everything legitimate.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. That's cool. Did you have anything else, Johnny, you wanted to talk about or mention before? I figured we could wrap things up. It's been
we'll probably wrap things up because I'm sure I could blab all night, but you know what I mean? Like I forget.
Oh yeah, definitely.
There's so much stuff going on.
I know. I hear you, man. Any Kickstarters you want to shout out? I know our buddy. Oh my God, John Celestri has his Fire Fist Angel.
Yep.
That's it's close. I know he could use some help funding.
Yeah, I'll give you the rundown of what I'm backing right now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah. Oh God.
Usually we're in a mad rush to get.
I know, right? This time I kind of like this where we're doing things at the end. It's like a little bit of a slower pace. It's like we're not rushing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wonder if that could be
logged into Kickstarter, so I apologize.
But I hate to be like that guy to kick off our guests. Sorry, guys, gotta go.
Yeah. We might want to do this from now on, where we just flip things a little bit, right?
Maybe, yeah.
Because then it makes the green room easier to,
navigate at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of saying, "Hey, see you later, people. We need to talk."
Yeah. Oh, it was Jeremy saying here. It was good hanging with you, both of you. Hopefully, see you both soon. I'll put the word in the Dorkening Greason. Yeah, Jeremy, please do, because I think our show, as long as I don't have to do much work, if I just have to deliver you guys an MP3, that's totally fine. And we'd love to come under the umbrella and help pump up the network. We'd even make like a little commercial to add on our other videos that we upload every week, saying we're there, and try to promote it a little bit, And so I think that'd be awesome. So yeah, let me know. Definitely definitely let us know. We'd love to be part of it.
So,
And Johnny, another exciting thing though, the channel just hit 800 subs this week.
oh wow,
Yeah,
we're so close to that 1,000.
Oh,
We're chasing.
dude, so close. You know, we're
So
getting
close.
there, inch by inch, man.
So campaigns I'm backing right now. I'm going to do a quick speed round, just run through them all. We have Southbound #1 by my good friend Jared Luhan. It's a cyberpunk comes to the Lone Star State, an explosive new series. It's cyberpunk in Texas. It looks one part sci-fi, one part cowboy. Love it. Looks really good. Highly recommend that. That actually has how many days left to go? It's got 23 days left to go.
How are they on
that one? And he's at 3,000 out of his $5,000 goal.
Oh, that's a good sign. She's probably going to hit in next week or the week after, probably.
Yep. Fire Fist Angel, our good friend John Celestri, he's at 370 out of 500. 6 days to go, 18 backers. It's a neat little series. So I highly recommend if you like, let's say, transgendered superheroes. This is probably a good book to back. The next one, I remember I mentioned to you guys the battery pack, the $200 battery pack.
Oh yeah.
So that's 12 days left to go on that. That's well past its goal. So that's available out there right now. And One True Love needs a little bit of help. 4 days left to go. Mario Candelaria, really awesome comic creator. It's a project we love on Kickstarter, but it's fallen a little bit short, which is surprising. Usually these projects we love are on a good trend. This one, it's lagging behind a little bit.
Does it have a high goal?
7,000 is the goal, and it's at 5,400. So it's got 192 backers. So there's a lot of people who backed here. It's just not quite where it needs to be yet. And I really want to read this story.
How many days left?
There's 4 days left to go. So critical time for the campaign. We hope to see that thing get filled because I'd really love to be able to read Mario's story.
Awesome, dude. Yeah, hopefully Jeremy says he loves this segment. Yeah, we try to do it. Usually when you have something to add at the end, we always try to shout it out.
Like if we have, because we can't feature everybody on the show that are friends. So if we're backing friends campaigns, we want to make sure we shout them out, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I hear you, man. I'd love to feature everybody, but we only do this twice a month now,
Yep.
Oh, sometimes more, but if it's a rare instance or whatever,
Yep. And also real quick, big shout out to Hades at Global Indie Group. I sent you guys the video. I did a quick video tag for him.
You're saying you're on on Gig.
Yeah, he's going to loop into the Gig platform. So highly recommend Gig, Global Indie Network. It's just a consortium of indie creators that you can go to. Think Angie's List. You need a plumber, type plumber, pumps up all the plumbers. You go to Gig, you type in podcaster. Anybody who's a podcaster is on there. Reach out to them. They could promo your work. You're running a Kickstarter campaign. There's now a database of people you can reach out to who can, talk about your campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. And the commercial that he just created I started adding it to our rotation of video uploads this week.
It looks good. It's a great commercial.
It's a great commercial. Yeah. It's really professionally made, and
looks great.
It makes us look awesome having it on our channel too. Like we got connections or something.
Right.
So I love being part of that, and I'm hoping, I think it's just got potential, just get bigger and bigger. So hopefully we'll 100%. See that. And shout out to George too. Did you see George Medina? He had he showed like a thumbnail or something today on Facebook about a new project he's working on. It looks kind of interesting. So maybe we'll see him in the future on the show again,
One more thing I forgot to mention. I saw you guys with the stands and how awesome they were.
Oh, you see it? Yeah.
I pulled the trigger and got one.
Yeah. So would you do the Surrounded by Death?
I did one for Surrounded by Death.
Is it just the words, or did you try to do the blood splatter too?
The blood splatter, but this is a new version of it. I don't know if you've seen this yet.
Okay, let me see.
The magnets? Right, well, I don't have it yet.
Oh, okay.
I ordered it the other day. He's going to print it out for me. But
so he has what is it? A magnet?
The nameplate is now interchangeable with magnets.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah. So he's going to do one with 2 different magnet nameplates for me. One of them surrounded by death, and another one will be just like my logo, my name logo.
Oh wow! Cool.
Yeah, man, I'm excited
Show that
to
off.
see it.
Make sure you do a video of that,
I will.
like an unboxing of that. Or
I
something.
100% will,
and I'll throw it up on the channel.
Awesome.
I did an. I don't know if you
have it
watched
for
it.
San Diego.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
He's awesome to deal with, dude. I don't mind throwing him business left and right.
Yep, I'll order a bunch more, I'm sure.
I'm glad you got it. That's great because, like, he is. I mean, I think those stands are amazing. Like, I had him out this weekend, first time, and people liked them. They thought it was cool. And
they're slick.
I didn't have, and no one scanned the QR code though, which I wish they did.
Really?
You know.
Oh, so Wham stands, everybody. That's what we're talking about. Wham stands.
Yeah, I did a video unboxing on the channel. Like, so if you want to check it out, I just showed it off. If you're an indie creator, definitely think about getting one of these because it's
very cost effective.
It's gonna, very cost effective, but it's gonna make you look awesome, you know, at the shows and stuff. So you can put your logo on there. It looks sharp. The one guy that was looking at mine this weekend says these are 3D, like you can't even tell they were 3D printed. They're so smooth and they're really nice. And I think Wham stand's gonna be huge. Like
they're sturdy too. They're like very like they're not flimsy where they look like they're gonna break.
Right, exactly. So yeah, they're gonna be part of my table setup going forward. They're really sharp looking, you know, so it helps you stand out. So check that out. And hey Dan, good to see you, man. Good to see you, buddy. Glad to see you here tonight. And he said,
thanks for watching.
We're going to be looking into them. Oh yeah, you
highly
should,
recommend
Dan.
it. Look into them.
Dan, definitely check them out. Especially if you're planning on doing shows, they're gonna make you look, or even have them in the background. You know, and if you do a YouTube video or something, you know,
we should do like a top 10 creator friendly like indie services. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you want to?
Yeah, I'm just thinking like out loud here, really, because it's like there's so many of these like little indie things like Wham stands that really like, you know, they do it for the creator. You know what I mean? They really take care of the creator here. So
yeah, there's other
global
things.
indie group and things like that. Like, you know, where a lot of these other places might try to like gouge you because they know you're an indie creator and like you might not be well versed, you know, or things like that.
Yeah,
just thinking out loud. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, I would love to do that. Maybe we could do a series of them. Just pick. Why don't we come up with like 5 or 10, like you said?
Yeah.
We'll do one. We'll do a video on each of them. Maybe 5 to 8 minutes or something. Just talking about why you should have those. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And we could film it after, you know, like
after our
do an
usual
ICR
show
or something. You know.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Cool. Well, yeah, that's all I got.
Oh, look at this. Good idea. Got quite a few. Oh man, thanks, buddy. Appreciate that. You know, so all right, but everybody, we're gonna wrap up. We've been going a little like over an hour and 40 minutes now at this point. Yeah, I know.
We talk too much, Keith.
We do. We got diarrhea of the mouth. All right, everybody. So thank you so much for watching. You know, check out H.H. Herman's or German's. You always want to say H.H. Herman. H.H. German's Here Comes Calico manga on Kickstarter that we shared it earlier tonight. There is a link in the description of the video as well. Comic is awesome and it's worth your time. So
Punisher fans, check that book out.
Yeah, any fans of 80s Punisher, Daredevil, you'll love it. So check that out. Have a great week. We'll be back in 2 weeks. I don't know who our guest is. I never look ahead. It's like yeah. I know Global Comics is coming up soon, but they're not the next
guest. One.
No, it's not the next one.
Just stay tuned to the channel.
Yeah, just stay tuned to the channel. All right, everybody. Have a great week. Thank you for joining us. And most importantly, read some comics. All right, everybody. Good night, and we'll talk to you later. And